When you write a text prompt, you're telling the AI what to generate, but you have very little control of how it's arranged. The composition, the pose of a character, the layout of the scene. Now you can try with words, but it's not easy. And if you say that, oh, I want the character with her hand up or left hand up, you really don't have much control over where that hand is. You can try with text, but it's fairly complicated. The AI decides that essentially all on its own. Now, ControlNet changes that. It lets you provide a visual reference that guides the structure of your output. And in this chapter, I'm going to show you exactly how that works, walk you through the most common types, and demonstrate what each one does. There's a lot to see here, so pay attention to what's on screen. It'll make everything click for you. Some models have these control nets baked in, and some use them as an addition that you can add on yourself. Let me show you. Here's a photograph of a person standing in a specific pose. And here's what happens when I generate an image with just a text prompt. The AI creates a person, but the pose, the angle, the composition are completely random. I don't have much control over any of that. Now, watch what happens when I use a ControlNet. I take that same photograph, run it through a preprocessor, and I get this. See how it extracts just the skeletal pose from the image. The head, shoulders, arms, legs, all simplified down to the skeletal map. This is something that we call an OpenPose, and I feed that into my workflow alongside my text prompt. And now, look at the result. The AI generated a completely new person, different face, different clothes, different style, but in the exact same pose as my reference. And that's ControlNet. It doesn't copy the image. It extracts a specific structural aspect, in this case, the pose, and uses only that to guide the generation. Everything else comes from the prompt and the model. In our first stage, the pre-processing, is where the structural information kind of gets extracted. You take your reference image and run it through this preprocessor, a node that analyzes the image and pulls out one type of information. It can be the OpenPose, the skeleton we saw earlier, but it can also be other types. So watch, here's my reference image going into the preprocessor, and here's what comes out. Depending on which preprocessor you use, the type of image you get could be edges, it could be depth, it could be a line art of the silhouette, it could be the previous OpenPose or other types of data. This preprocessed image gets fed into a ControlNet model inside your workflow alongside your text prompt. Now the diffusion model then follows both, generating content based on your description while arranging it according to the structure in this preprocessed image. Now, two things to remember here. The preprocessor and the ControlNet model kind of have to match. You can't use a depth preprocessor with a pose ControlNet model. They speak different languages. It might not give you an error, but it might not give you the output that you're looking for. And the ControlNet model has to match your AI model or diffusion model's family. So a stable diffusion ControlNet is not going to work with flux, for example, and vice versa. You have to always check for compatibility. Now, not every model has ControlNet support. So let me give you the lay of the land a little bit. So Stable Diffusion and its older models has been around the longest, and so naturally has the most ControlNets available, at least as a third-party ControlNet, or actually ControlNets that you can add on. Nearly every type of ControlNet was developed for it first, and there's a huge selection of high-quality models to choose from. Some of the earlier Flux models has the basics available, Canny, depth, pose, while some of the newer models have some ControlNet functionalities baked in, which is kind of cool. And you have models like One, which is interesting because you have ControlNet into your video generations through additions like Fun Control or Vase. So instead of guiding a single image, you provide a control video, like a sequence of pose skeletons, and One follows it frame by frame. We're not going to build a video controlling workflow in this chapter, but I want you to know the capability exists because it opens up a whole other dimension of creative control, and this is usually referred to as video to video. Now let's get into different types. Now for each one, I'll show you the reference image and what the preprocessor extracts from it and what the final result looks like. So the comparison is going to do most of the talking here. Look at the Canny preprocessor does. It takes the reference image and it essentially pulls out every edge and outline, every contour, every boundary, and it turns it into this black and white line map. Now, let's look at the generated result next to it. The shapes and the outlines match. The silhouette, the composition, the boundaries, smaller details of the object are all preserved, but AI has filled in everything with completely new content based on the prompt. Now, if you want to retain much of your input image, Canny is one of the most faithful ControlNet types because it captures so much structured detail. The output stays very close to the original composition, which makes it incredibly reliable when you need that kind of control. Use it when you want to preserve the exact outlines and structure of a reference while completely changing the style, content, or medium. If you're using architecture, for example, here's a great use of it. Now let's look at the depth map. This is a different approach entirely. The depth preprocessor doesn't care about edges or outlines in the same way. It's looking at the sort of the three-dimensional layout of the scene. What comes out is a grayscale depth map where bright areas are close to the camera and dark areas are far away. And if you look at the result here, the foreground, midground, and background all kind of in their same relative position. You can see the objects, what's happening in the scene, but you can't see the details. The actual content filling those spaces is completely new because we don't have the detailed lines that we had in the Canny. So here's where the comparison gets interesting, right? If you look at the Canny next to the depth one, Canny locked in the exact outlines. So the output is, well, structurally same. Now, depth, we have essentially the shapes of the objects. So the AI has much more freedom with the details, but the sense of space and distance and the composition still perfectly preserved. So you can use it when you want to keep the composition the same. Maybe you have silhouettes or rough shapes of what you want to use, but while having more creative freedom over what actually fills in this scene. This one is particularly powerful for landscapes or when you're just trying to get a composition right, but you want to change what's in it. So going back to the OpenPose, and this is probably the most visually intuitive type, look at what the preprocessor gives you here. This is a skeleton showing every major kind of point of your body. We have heads, shoulders, elbows, wrists, hips, knees. We have even the fingers all mapped out as dots and lines on this black background. And the generated image, a completely different person, different face, different clothing, different background. You get the point. We have the same position, the same pose as we saw in the earlier example. The skeleton is the only thing guiding the structure. Now there are also several variants of the OpenPose preprocessor. The basic ones gives you body, a simple skeleton. It gets the job done for full body poses, but ignores some of the face details or the hands, right? Now there are specific OpenPose types just for the face, where you have facial feature detection. So see the little dots appearing around the eyes, nose, the mouth. So that lets the AI match facial expressions and not just body positions. We even have an OpenPose specifically for hands, where you can have the fingers and the hands detected more easily. Look at how the individual fingers are now tracked, and that's kind of crucial for getting natural hand position instead of the mangled fingers AIs or was famous for. Nowadays, just hands pretty good. And with the various OpenPose full models, we have everything. We have the body, we have the face, hands, and essentially one pass. And there are different types like the DW OpenPose, for example. So when you want to use this, again, if you have an input, let's say that I am creating the input, but I'm not the character. Maybe the character is wider, it's smaller. Maybe I'm doing a pose for a large monster or an animated character. So this you can have a driving input, but the character is completely changing. Now, the Lineart is very similar to Canny, but it's mostly used to convert your reference into something that goes from a sketch to a real picture or real illustration. Now, you can use Canny and Lineart, kinda both, but Lineart was more made to see, well, Lineart. But if you look at the difference here, Canny it's more mechanical. It captures every edge. A Lineart is more loose. The lines have varying weights. Some details are emphasized while others are softened. It feels more like a drawing a human would make. So if you have a sketch or a drawing you want the AI to render into a fully detailed image, you can use the Lineart model. But again, you could also try the Canny and lower the strength of that one. Now that you've seen all the types, or most of the major types, a few things worth keeping in mind as you start using ControlNet in your own workflows. The control weight, or the strength, is a setting you'll want to pay attention to. It determines how strongly the AI is going to follow your pre-processed image. At high weight, the structure is followed very tightly, almost rigidly. And at lower weight, the AI loosens up a little bit and takes more creative liberties. Now, if you're getting artifacts or just terrible outputs in general, the first thing to try is bringing the control weight down. You could try somewhere around 0.7. It's a good starting point for most use cases, but depending on the model, it could be lowered even further. With many of these models, you're also not limited to just one ControlNet at a time. You can stack multiple ControlNets in the same workflow. Say a depth map to lock in the spatial layout in an OpenPose, skeleton to lock in a character's pose. Each one adds its own layer of structural guidance to the same generation, and together they give you a level of control that the text prompt alone could never achieve. Just remember, if you're stacking multiple ControlNets, you might need to lower the weight of them.